Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is Hopeful Chewbacca back at the Church of Chewbacca with another showdown video. This time we're going to go over the NL East. Pretty much, like I said before, these guides are for people that are trying to do this the most efficient way, that are average to above average players. Obviously, the quickest way to do this would just be literally when it starts to go down here where there's forfeit now, but it'll actually give you an option to skip it and do the final showdown 0 to 15 in runs. So let's go over each of these missions and which ones I think are worth doing and which ones I think are worth skipping based on time and how hard they are. Alright, so the first one here is cut down the Braves comeback. This one, essentially, you have a 3-run lead in the bottom of the ninth with the bases loaded. It's very similar to the AL East Yankees mission. I recommend doing this one. Pretty much, it's very quick. You either get it or you don't. It's only on veterans, so I think it's one that you can really do. The next one is keep the fish swimming. This is another pitching one. In the first 3 innings, you have to strike out 4 batters. It's against the Marlins. Obviously, the Marlins lineup is not very good. You're going to be using your starting pitcher. I would recommend doing it. It can take a little bit. You're going to have to bat in this for at least 1 inning. What I would do is to speed it up is just bunt. It doesn't really matter what you do offensively, so I would literally just bunt as quickly as possible to get back on the mound to knock out these 4 strikeouts. You also don't have to pitch all 3 of the innings if you strike out the 4 batters before the 3rd inning is over. Highly recommend doing this one. It's pretty easy. The next one is knock off Zack's wheels. This is against Zack Wheeler, who actually signed with the Phillies in the offseason this year. He does throw pretty hard, hits 97 and 99. I think this mission is actually optional. I did it this run because it was worth 2 runs for the final showdown runs, compared to the first 2 missions will always be 1 run. So if it's in this 3rd position, I recommend doing it. However, if it's only for 1 run and you don't want to deal with it, you don't really have to. In the first 2 innings, to score 2 runs and get an extra base hit, I don't think he's that hard to hit if you focus on hitting his fastball, even though he does throw pretty hard. That being said, to me, I've done it, but I would say if it's worth 1 run, it might not be worth the trouble. Then here is the first showdown. It's against Aaron Nola of the Philadelphia Phillies. He doesn't throw very hard. His fastball doesn't move very much. I believe he tops out at about 95 miles an hour. He's a right-handed pitcher, so load up your lineup with all the batters that you have that are good against right-handed pitching. And there's quite a few that we'll go over at the end of the video that are silver and bronze guys that I think early on you can really use to mash against Aaron Nola. The next mission that I had on this run was defeat Thor's hammer. This is against Noah Syndergaard. You have to tally 2 base hits and 3 runs in the first 3 innings. Actually, I would recommend skipping this mission, whether it's here or for the 2 final runs. Honestly, Syndergaard throws a sinker as his main pitch, and he throws it often. I did the mission, the first run that I did it, just to see what the mission was like, and I just wouldn't recommend doing it. I think he's one of the harder pitchers to hit from the computer, just because they do pitch so erratically, so it's kind of hard to guess where he's going to pitch at, and he's throwing the ball just very hard. His sinker tops at almost 100 miles an hour sometimes. I just would recommend skipping it. It's not worth the hassle, especially because you can maybe get the 3 runs, but if you don't get the extra base hits, you still don't complete the mission, or you could get the extra base hits and not get the 3 runs. The next mission I had on this one is take down the champs. So you have a 2-0 lead in the 7th inning against the Nationals. You have to finish off the final 3 innings to get the win. It's only on veteran. I'd recommend doing this one, especially if it's for 2 runs. It does take a little bit. If you're a really good pitcher, you don't actually have to hit in this, so you can just bunt. What I like to do when I do the mission is I like to hit in the 7th inning, and just maybe I can score a run or 2 to get me a little bit more insurance other than just the 2 runs. If you can get the insurance of less than the 2 runs. However, if you're a very good pitcher, you don't actually have to worry about getting some more insurance runs. I will say that some of the Nationals hitters are very good against right-handed pitching, so if you have a left-handed pitcher, I would try to get him in, even if he's coming out of the bullpen. or are you already going to be in the bullpen? I would just put your left-handed relief pitcher in as quickly as possible against them, to be honest. All right, to the next mission. You're not so fresh, Will. Essentially, the Braves in the offseason signed Will Smith. So this mission is you're down 3-1 against the Braves in the 8th inning, make a comeback for the win. I would actually skip this. Will Smith isn't necessarily too hard to hit. Just at this point, your lineup should be more focused towards right-handed pitching, and he's a lefty. So you don't really have the guys that match up well against Will Smith. They also have a relatively decent defense, so it's not the easiest to get gap shots against their defense. I would really just skip it. You have to score 3 runs in the last 2 innings against them. If you want to try the mission, I would just do it the first inning that you bat, because you're going to start batting. And then if you don't get any runs, I would just quit out. Next is a showdown versus Scherzer. Essentially, this is Max Scherzer. You're going to have a pretty hard matchup here. It's the first difficulty in these set of missions that it's All-Star. I just feel like he hides his pitches really well. My advice for this showdown is to literally just focus on him throwing high fastballs. Anything he throws low, even if it's his fastball, unless you know it's the fastball, I wouldn't swing at it. He will walk you a bunch if you take pitches. I've noticed that you can get maybe 3 to 4 walks every time you face him if you're really patient. When he does struggle, though, he will throw a strike. If it's like 3-1, he normally likes to come with his fastball or his cutter. Just make sure that you try to recognize a fastball out of his hand and look for a fastball that's middle high. Anything low, your players seem to roll over on it, seem to hit it into double plays. And I've had the most problems with this showdown on these runs. I've probably done these runs maybe 5 or 6 times, and I've gotten to the end 4 of those 5 or 6 times. And any time I've lost has been against Scherzer. It hasn't been against the back end. Whenever I get to deGrom, I beat deGrom every time. Anyways, good luck on this showdown. Be patient. Get the hits when you can get them. The next one is put the polar bear on ice. This is essentially you have to face the Mets lineup, pitch 3 scoreless innings, and get 3 strikeouts. This mission can take a little bit, but it doesn't matter what you're doing hitting-wise, so I'd actually recommend doing this one. Unfortunately, I failed this one on this run. I actually made it all the way to the last out in the 3rd inning, and I don't remember which hitter it was. It took me yard. Disappointing. I mean, honestly, I probably wasted like 12, 13 minutes of my time. However, even at that point, I would still recommend doing it, especially if it's not in this slot and it's in this slot instead, because then you're getting a diamond player. But I really think that it's the Pete Alonso's actually like this Pete Alonso mission's not that bad, because really the Mets lineup really isn't that strong. I beat it every time except for this run. It was just a fluke. I hung a slider and the dude crushed it. The next one is score on the Stras. So essentially, this is Steven Strasburg. In the first 3 innings, scored 2 runs. I highly recommend doing this mission. This one, I just had some poor luck this time around. This is the only time I actually didn't complete this mission either. So it was just poor luck. I hit a lot of line drives for outs. I also rolled into a double play swinging at a bad pitch that I thought was his fastball, and it was actually ended up being his changeup, and I just rolled over on it. So it was just my own stupidity on this run. But I really recommend doing this one. It's not that bad. He throws from the stretch the whole time. He doesn't have a windup in this game, so really you're seeing the same motion the whole time. He throws his fastball super straight. Highly recommend doing it. This mission right here, the NL East Live Series squad. So if you completed all the other missions and didn't botch everything like I did, you should actually be at 10 to 15 already when you get to this mission. And if you're already at 10 to 15 when you get to this mission, I would recommend skipping it because it does take a while. You also are down a run. The pitcher you face starting out is Hector Neris from the Philadelphia Phillies. So actually the pitching you face isn't that hard. After he faces 3 batters, pretty much no matter what they'll bring in, they'll bring in Sean Doolittle, the closer from the Washington Nationals, and then if you hit Doolittle at all, they will bring in Kimmy Garcia. So those are 3 pitchers you'll face. The mission itself isn't that hard. I did it this time because I botched the 2 previous missions, and I just needed to make sure that I had more runs for a little bit of a safety net for the final showdown, as well as I wanted to have an extra diamond player. Anyway, you should be anywhere from 8 to 12 to runs for the final showdown. So at the most, you should have to get 8 runs. At the least, you should only have to get 4 runs. If you do this right, you should really be only having to get 4 runs. It should be 12 to 15, which is typically what it's been for me on these runs. However, this time I just screwed up. It happens, though. Like, I'm still going to do this. I should still be able to beat deGrom, because when they added the more runs of the showdowns, it's actually not as bad. Because before, I mean, really, you were playing no matter what, like anywhere from 6 to 8 to 15 to face the final showdown. With that being said, let's go over the squad that I have this time around and some guys that I really recommend picking up that are silver and bronzes for these runs. Obviously, we'll load up my lineup right now and get this clown out of here. Cervelli's not a very good hitter. Great defensive catcher, but not a good hitter. But some of my recommendations is Jeff McNeil. He hits everything. I highly recommend picking Jeff McNeil if you can. He's one of my favorite players in this game so far this year. Along with him, another guy that's been a good guy for me on these runs is Michael Conforto. Whether it's this card or it's face of the franchise New York Mets card, I recommend picking up either one of them. He hits the ball very hard, as you can see, 85 power against righties. And then another guy I really like is Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce, I picked him up every single run when I can get him in the silver players. Since you're doing a lot of the earlier missions on this one, you do get to pick from a lot of silver players. And I just think that Jay Bruce really mashes the ball. Another guy that I don't have on this run that is actually a really good card for this is Eric Thames, the first baseman for the Washington Nationals this year. He actually might play right field. I'm not sure what the Nationals are going to do since the season hasn't started, and it doesn't look like it's going to start for the foreseeable future. However, he's a bronze card. I believe he's like 70 or 72 overall. He's also a good pickup, has a lot of power against right-handed pitching and left-handed pitching. Another guy that I think his swing, you either like his swing or you don't, but Robinson Cano crushes the ball for me, but his numbers don't look as amazing. So he's another guy that I would consider picking up when you do these runs. As for pitchers, I really like Caleb Smith for a starter. If you get to the option where there's maybe only starters available to pick on one of the rounds, I would pick Caleb Smith. Pretty smooth rotation. He's left-handed pitcher. I think for these runs, the left-handed pitchers, when you're doing the pitching missions, are more important than right-handed pitchers. Another guy I like out of the bullpen is Justin Wilson and Daniel Hudson. I think these two for bronzes are pretty good pitchers to get strikeouts. They both throw hard. They both have a slower slider, and I think that really mixes it up against the computer. Those would be my recommendations for players. Go out here and complete this showdown, guys. I know you guys can do it. Like I said, when they added the more runs, I just feel like these videos will even be more helpful to people. Anyways, I appreciate everyone watching. If you hit the subscribe button so you can watch more of the content, write anything in the comment. There's 2 divisions left in this series for the showdowns. Let me know which one you want to see next, or leave any comments if you have any questions, concerns, or any other content that you want to see that isn't even related to showdowns. Also, if you are enjoying the content, besides hitting the subscribe button, you can also watch me at twitch.tv/hopefulchewbacca. I stream Monday through Thursday, 8:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I will also be streaming periodically. I don't have any set times based on my schedule and my family. But if you would like to know whenever I'm going to stream, you can follow me on Twitter at Hopeful1137. Also, some people have been asking what my PSN is. That is also Hopeful1137. Anyways, I really appreciate you guys watching these videos. You guys all be safe and have a good day.